This is a Defocus Media production.
Audio Jungle.
What's up, everyone? It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Daryl Glover.
And I'm Dr. Jennifer Lyerly, resident optometry nerd.
And welcome to Defocus Media, optometry's #1 podcast, where we discuss the hottest topics, latest technology, eyewear, practice management, and more. So sit back, relax, and defocus.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining in, and we're so excited to be here.
Wow, I feel like I just ran down like a
dance.
stadium.
Come on, let's dance.
There's
This
a
is good.
sparkles, something confetti. Obviously, this is like a big celebration. We've been talking about doing this for a year and a half now, and
Too long.
we made it happen.
Finally.
Awesome.
It's been about a year and a half, because I think it was I Innovate where we met in person and we're like, man, we got to do something together. We got to make the magic happen. And
Yes.
our schedules just got the best of us, life. And but we're here now, and we're gonna make this party take place and have a hell of a time, right?
Started up in here.
I like it.
Nice.
That's good.
Well, you guys, obviously the Try Not to Blink show is an incredibly popular optometry podcast, but we really wanted to pick your brains to figure out, how did you guys decide to come together and make this happen? Because I think a lot of people now are interested in podcasting, but you were one of the first on the scene.
Well, I think all the credit goes. Yes, exactly. So all the credit goes to you guys. We are huge fans. I listen to every single podcast that you guys put out. Every single one. I'm probably one of the first ones that logs on, listens. I'm a fan. I'm a fanboy. I do mean that. And I really do enjoy everything that you guys do and put out there. And we can't take credit for Try Not to Blink. However, it kind of found us. So I think we probably shared that with you. So Roya, you want to let them know, who approached us and how it all came to be.
Yep. So probably from every episode you hear us say, thanks to our main supporters, Valley Contacts. Valley reached out to us. Actually, they wanted to support one of their big innovation or pushes is education. And so they wanted to have a way to reach people, but it'd be a little bit more grassroots, I suppose. I mean, I guess that we can figure out their reasonings from them, but they reached out to me and then like the next best person alive, which wasn't Jimmy. He said no. I'm just kidding.
Then the next person said no.
And then
I was like, can I please do something with you? And they were like, yeah, sure.
They came, who knows if we were first in line or not, but they did eventually come to us and asked if we would join. Unfortunately, we both said yes. And I honestly, not to say that I'm not a huge fan, but I don't listen to podcasts. Is it weird to say that? Do you guys listen to podcasts?
Well, I actually do. My wife put me on a podcast a long time ago. And at first I was like, man, who's taking all my time? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I started to listen to the podcast, and I was just like, oh, wow, you can learn so much from these. There's entertainment, there's education, there's leadership. I mean, you can really find something that can make you a well-rounded individual. I mean, on my playlist, I have, sermons, I have leadership, I have optometry related. I mean, you name it. You can get a little bit of everything at your fingertips with podcasts. So I love them.
Yeah. So they reached out to us, and it's just been sort of, the almost 2.5 years later now we've been doing it. And it's every time we finish a podcast, every time we're getting ready for a podcast, we're like, why the hell do we do this? And what are we thinking? We have lives, families, practices. And then every time we finish it, we're like, I know exactly why we do this. It's a lot. It's a feeling of gratitude that, kind of keeps you coming back. And, we're very grateful to have had the opportunity and continue to follow in your footsteps.
Well, I think too, so often in private practice or whatever practice model you're in, you're doing your job. And of course, you're doing your best to stay on top of the changes in healthcare, new medications, new policies, new whatever. But we actually have to do research every week as part of the show to provide
make it
good
sound
contact
like we
for
know
people.
what we're talking about.
Yeah. And if you don't, like, and that's actually half of the reason why I go through the bullshit every day. Sorry to borrow my French, but like it's annoying sometimes to do it. But it is super helpful. Like I get to say, oh yeah, I just spoke with, the creators of X, or oh, we just interviewed the leading doctor researching Y, or whatever. And why else would you ever do that if you didn't have a show like this? So while I had no initial spark to do it myself, like no personal innate spark, I'm so glad I do it as much as it is homework. It's weekly homework.
Yeah.
Right. We've joked about this so much, but we're so similar in like what draws us to the show. Cause that is exactly what draws me to doing this I'm forced to research and learn a new topic. It's something I want to do anyway, but this really puts like some structure to it where I'm going to do it. And if I'm doing it anyway, like we might as well talk about it and share it and let me learn from somebody else. So I feel like it's kept me on my toes with my knowledge of what's going on in the industry much more so than if I wasn't doing something like this.
Totally agree.
Yeah, for me, I love podcasting simply because, it's a secret I think that Jen and I both use. If there's something that we want to learn more about, we bring on a guest.
That's what the topic is.
Right? Yeah, so, it's kind of a selfish thing, but at the same time, we know there's a lot of minds out there that have the same thoughts and they want more education and more knowledge. So why not bring someone on that's an expert and pick their brain and learn more and grow as a community in eye care? So we do a lot of that, but I have to give all the credit in the world to Jen in regards to doing all the research. I always tell everyone she's the biggest opto nerd that I know. So I know if there's a tough topic, I'm like, Jen, let's see the data. Let's see the statistics. And before I could even say anything, she already has it all. Or I won't even touch on it. I'll let her just do all the talking on that part because I know she has researched it top to bottom. There's been some times where we've been on podcasts and Jen starts, asking these questions and going to the data. And I'm looking at the guests like, well, damn, they don't have an answer for this.
So, you're in trouble.
I'll have to research that and get back
right,
to you.
Right.
When you come to office hours, that's a good question for the expert.
Oh my gosh. But I mean, y'all mentioned there's a certain team dynamic that I think makes the podcasting format especially successful. And you guys obviously have a partnership that's a true friendship that your strengths and weaknesses really play off of each other. How important do you think it's been having a partner to get you through? Because this is a lot of work besides seeing you patients and having a family at home.
Yeah.
I think that is so true because while sharing the workload of a podcast is a lot of work, and also, as everyone probably remembers, group projects are really annoying too, to share a project and balance that work and be like, I did this much. How much did you do? There is amounts. I'll give Jimmy credit too where he deserves it because I can literally research everything about something. And then that kid could just talk to like a brick wall about something he doesn't really know about and engage with people that he doesn't know and didn't even read who they are. No. So like, and I'm actually way more methodical than that. Like I really kind of have to like think a little bit about my conversation, think about my talking points. Like if I get blindsided about a conversation I don't really know, I don't sometimes have that much to say. Not that I'm not thinking about it. Like afterwards, I'm like, well, shit, I have so many questions now, but it's just not my speaking style. So like Jimmy's so much more just like ready to talk and can say a million things and can fill time, which not that we want to have too much fluff. And I have a good way of being like, dude, cut it. Like no more. We did enough there.
The
like,
private chat going in the background.
Let's change topics.
We would have never, ever, ever in 100 years put this together if it wasn't for, again, Valley Contacts putting us together. So, it's just serendipity.
Were you guys friends before the podcast or y'all just met through this?
Yeah, we were both educators, consultants for Valley Contacts. We both did, I did scleral lens workshops for the schools on the East Coast for several years. That was my position. And she did it for schools on the West Coast. And so we would meet at big meetings and, have drinks at the, whatever bar and that kind of thing at a meeting. And that was pretty much it, but I think we probably knew we were different. We probably knew that it just intuitively, and for whatever reason, they thought that would be a good mixture. And we're told that plays well. So
it's the magic sauce.
We're told that
they nailed it. So. Good job, Valley.
Yeah, exactly. So we're happy with it too.
I think as our podcasts are our own, we each have our own style and whatnot. I think we kind of have similar personalities in that there's the loud, boisterous voice, and then there's the more nerdy, quiet, sassy voice.
Right.
I'll take it. Daryl, are you gonna take that?
Hey, man, I just sit back and laugh and just smile, and that's all I do.
Whatever, it's fine.
It works for me,
Yeah, good. It works.
Same thing with patient care. I walk in the room, I smile, I talk, I have a good time, run my mouth the entire time, and patients are happy. So I just kind of take the same approach when it comes to podcasting.
Yeah, honest to God, that is so true. Yeah.
Well, obviously one of the things that really prompted us, besides just wanting to hang out with you guys, was so many people are entering this space, which I think is so great because everybody has their own perspective that they're bringing to optometry. And it's more than just podcasting now, right? There's video streaming, there's YouTube videos, there's TikTok platforms and things. And who knows what's going to happen next with I know Clubhouse is something you're really active on now, Daryl. So when you're going about okay, I want to do something where I'm sharing my passion and love and education with optometry to the rest of the world, what kind of barriers did you guys find to entering podcasting in this case specifically?
I'll start. I think the biggest barrier is just trying to get your message out there, and trying to get people to see you and then wondering, are people listening? Do they like it? Is it, being well received? And so for me, I think, it really doesn't take that much to do a podcast, right? Anybody with a cell phone and, access to Google or Apple can record their voice for a period of time and upload it, and you got a podcast. I mean, it's really pretty easy. But I think, again, the follow through and the consistency, with anything. I know you guys have talked a lot about social media and social media presence and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of the same thing as that, in my opinion. It's that consistency that I think is really difficult with podcasting. But I think just wondering, we're talking to each other, but then wondering who's on the other end, because they get to be wherever they are, doing whatever they want and thinking whatever they want. You don't know. So to me,
and
that
listening
was
whenever they want.
Yeah. That's tough, I think. So we just, hope.
I totally agree with that. I think that podcasting is this format's pretty fun. It's like, ooh, we're live streaming and people can chat with us, and you're like, oh dang, my boom is so cool. But but I think that you're talking to each other with very little feedback oftentimes. And then occasionally we'll be in the beginning we would do it. We were still learning how to figure out our analytics. We were still figuring out how to track our numbers. And then we were like, this is kind of pointless. Are we even doing a good job? You get one bad review on Apple Podcasts and it's ruins your week. And then
that's when you've made it. That's when you've made it.
I know, right? I know. We have a couple reviews. But no, then you'd be at Academy back in the day when we could go places, and someone would be like, oh, aren't you on that podcast? And you're like, oh, dang, people do listen. Or, you know what I mean? You don't get that interaction like you would at a conference or speaking at a lot of other places. So it is sort of like this, you don't get that much feedback, and you don't know, am I actually providing good content? And so I think that is kind of one of the things about starting a podcast. It's not about doing it. It's like, are people actually interested in listening to what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm continuously surprised that it's easy to forget because when you're recording, you're not seeing an audience, you're not seeing active listeners, and it seems like just me and Daryl hanging out and meeting some new people in optometry, and you forget that anyone else is there. But it's also extremely cool and fantastic to get people saying, hey, that really helped me on this topic. Or I'll sometimes get text messages Shout out to Jackie Garlick. She'll message me sometimes like, didn't y'all do a show about blue light? And like, what was it? Can you tell me that episode? Because there's a stat from that I want. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like that was helpful to you. That's fantastic.
Good. That work was worth it.
So great.
Well, I think too, there's a stat I read a while back. It's like every average
Just
podcast lasts. I know. Let me say, average podcast lasts 12 episodes. Most people start a podcast and they get to 12 and then they're like, all right, game over.
Move on with my life. Yeah.
And because honestly, too, another big hurdle is it is a lot of work. I mean, if that's not very clear from what we've already said, it's a lot of work. And then you're doing it kind of for fun, and at least in the beginning, and you got to line up people's schedules and you got to follow up and you got to follow through afterwards. And then again,
say thank you. And
it's all these things. It's like, dang, I got a job and a family and I want to go on vacation and we didn't get it in time. Okay. Who cares? Right. So you gotta really be wanting to do it for the right reason.
I think that consistency is key, as you guys have mentioned before. I mean, with COVID-19, everyone and their mama came out with the podcast. And now we see how many podcasts are truly out there. And, it is truly that consistency. If you're not willing to put in that effort and put in that time and be consistent, then it's just going to fall to the side, But
totally.
One thing I really love about having this opportunity to podcast is, number one, again, we get to learn from our colleagues and become better clinicians and just better people in general. But we're on the internet. This is going to live forever. So we're making history. Our kids will be able to see this. Our family will be able to see this. And people will be able to reference to some information that we put out there. I mean, 10, 15 years from now, there's going to be a student that's looking up something, maybe on blue light. And, we're going to pop up about blue light, having this conversation, a topic. And, it's going to be pretty amazing. And it's going to be history that we're making as well. But speaking about content, we actually have a question here, regarding consistency. How often are you guys actually posting fresh content there?
So we do every Monday.
Yeah.
I don't know why we started.
It's we're gluttons for punishment is the bottom line, Eric. We are gluttons for punishment. Roya and I are putting out a fresh episode every week. And what's interesting, we mix it up kind of like you guys. Every now and again we do an episode where it's just Roya and I, because we're just like, you know what, let's just do that. Let's just shoot it. Me and you will chit chat a little, talk about some cases in clinic, and we'll bring up some new stuff that's going on in the optometric world, and we'll talk about it. And other times we're doing interviews or more classic interview style type podcasting. But yeah, we've been doing an episode a week for a little over 2 years.
Fantastic. Yeah, we do typically an episode a week as well, every Monday. If there's a holiday like this past week, we don't do an episode. We look for a reason.
We try to give ourselves some calendar breaks.
Yeah, no, it's nice. Do you find do you or maybe you've learned too, I mean, looking at metrics and looking at your own metrics, maybe, thinking about that not only from a time saved standpoint, but from a, time wasted standpoint. Are folks on vacation and not listening during those times? Maybe, you put one out, but is it not listened to because other people are also kind of spending time with their family? Is that also a reason maybe why you do that? I
mean, that's a piece of it, but also just quality of life. We want to enjoy our families during those holidays and not have to worry about putting anything out. And, the other piece too, Jimmy, which, you're bringing up a great point here, is that, sometimes, I mean, Jen and I, we could stack 1 million podcasts and be good for like 2 months. And we used to do that in the past. Right. But we like to stay, on the current topics, the current events, what's on trend. Right. So it's difficult to try to record all that stuff ahead of time, because by the time you drop it, it's like, that's old news. Right. So we try not to get too ahead of ourselves, and we try to make it so that we're always within like a week or so of whatever the latest or greatest, or 2 weeks really, of what's really popping out there on those eye care streets. So, it can be difficult to do, but we tend to do a pretty decent job of that. Don't you agree, Jen?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm like, I need to, once a week is a lot sort of thing. But it is also, I think, a big key to why both of our podcasts have been able to kind of break through, if you will, with listenership, is because you can count on consistent new content And if you know you like a podcast and it's a couple of weeks, like when do you know a new episode is coming? It's easy to kind of lose interest. So I think that is something that if you were serious about wanting to do it, you kind of almost have to commit to, if it's not every week, every 2 weeks, probably on the long end, if you're really trying to grow a strong listener base.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah. And we've thought long and hard about, should we go to every 2 weeks? Should we go to every month? Should we, and looking at our metrics and also our time, to your point, Dr. Glover, quality of life and our significant others, all this kind of stuff, being like, come on, you spend more time talking to Roya than you talk to me, and it sounds like you're happy when you're doing it, so that is something that we've thought about and certainly still roll around. But that's where we've been out right now. And in full disclosure, we do stack many of our episodes and try to kind of get a little bit ahead of the grade. And part of the reason for that is we have somebody that sort of like an engineer, if you will, even though they're not really an engineer, they're engineer-like. And
call them our sound producer.
Yeah, they help us with stitching together some of the audio. So if we didn't have that, though, I guarantee you, we'd be doing it the night before, whether because we were staying on topic or not. So that kind of helps us in a way because we're always like a week or two ahead, so that we're not making them work right up to the line. But I like what you do with staying up to date with current topics. I think it is important and nice to have.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned, spending more time with your podcast partner, because I have the same thing with my podcast partner. I always tell Jen when we're out at conferences and things, she's kind of like my, what do I normally say, Jen? My travel wife or my
what's that people say, like your work wife or
right,
something?
that's what it is, my work wife. So she's just like, normally my wife is always, whatever I need, she holds me down. And Jen, she is such a beautiful person inside and out. And she holds me down when we're out on the.
He's only saying all this because he like lately I've been really stressed about but it's actually
you guys need to talk to each other more. When you're mad at him, talk to her. Okay, this is what needs to happen. Forget yelling at him because you should see the hate texts I get. Like it's funny too. If I don't answer something, because I'm busy, like she does the question mark.
Come on, because you're busy. Give me a break.
Well, okay, Roy, let's talk about
because I don't know what to say because I haven't done it yet. That's the real answer.
When I say, "Hey, what's the plan?" The function on iMessages where you can put a question mark on the text. I'll do that a lot. Waiting.
That's like when I know she's really pissed. Yeah. Oh, damn. It was like, I gotta come up with an answer here.
Just looking for a simple response.
Yeah, I can probably tell when it's like 5 text messages in a row. I'm like talking in short sentences.
Right. I'll answer my own question.
Out of my fingers.
Right. Like, what's the plan? Is it tonight? Is it tomorrow? Question mark.
Yeah. Tonight was one of those nights where my wife was just like, really? Because tonight is typically the night that she watches Married at First Sight, and I watched that show with her. So she was like,
"Oh man,
what's up, man?"
Yeah,
priorities. I know.
Yeah.
We'll have to watch it tomorrow, but yeah, it happens. I mean, she has her side hustles and things that she does as well. So sometimes we can't watch stuff together at the time we would like. But thank goodness it's recorded and you can watch it at a later date. But it's a lot of fun. I enjoy this day in and day out. Again, you give me a platform where I can run my mouth, I'm gonna run my mouth.
Yeah, I wanted to talk because obviously you guys are looking super fancy with your boom mics and your headbands and everything. So what technology have you found has been a must-have for your podcast?
That's definitely been a learning curve. We've had these tried and true little booms since the get-go. So we have a Rode microphone and stand. And this little puff thing helps with rustles of wind, chewing, any loud noises behind it. Supposedly, I don't really know if that's true at all, but supposedly it helps with sound quality. So I'm all about it.
Y'all sound great.
Well,
thank you. And then we have just like a little box that does some sort of magic in between the mic and the computer. It's branded Behringer. I have no clue what it does. I just spin the knobs and sometimes get yelled at because it's too low or high.
Yeah.
And then basically we've kind of worked through some of the different apps we've worked with for actually recording. Honestly, in the beginning, we were super, super like bare bones. We literally used an app on our computers called Audacity to record our own sound. Yep.
Yeah.
And we had our guests use their iPhone.
We've done that. Yeah. That has happened at ours as well.
Oh yeah. We use clapping to line up the sound so that it would be really easy to put the sound together.
Let's all clap at the same time.
It worked well. Worked quite well. And we put the mic on the I put my headphones on the mic, would tell people to clap, and then it would be really easy to line the sounds up. So that worked for a while. And then more recently we switched over to an app called Squadcast. Which seems a lot like this, although I'm kind of digging this little app here we have.
This is great. We're definitely copying, no question about it.
I might have to copy it, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All credit given to you.
No, right. I mean, we obviously came across this from someone else who was utilizing it as well. So we're using StreamYard right now for you guys who obviously aren't on the back end looking at this. We've been really happy with it. Awesome. iCare Business Magazine was using it, and when we had joined them on an episode, I was like, oh my God, I love this. And it's so easy to sign up for an account. You just pay your money and then you get to start streaming, which is great.
I like
sound-wise, we made a big investment this year in some new cameras. We're using the Logitech Brio, and we've been really happy with the image quality. And I think we're getting great audio with it as well.
Nice.
When we started, we were using a video game microphone that my husband had for playing World of Warcraft.
Nice.
And some of our bad Google reviews were about our sound quality.
Okay, yeah, nice.
But we had to start.
It works. I mean, I still use it to this day. I mean, maybe one of these days we might get fancy like you guys and get boom mics or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Just
Rode.
Rode is the brand.
Professional singing and stuff. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I feel like a singer when I look at it.
It's funny. Everybody makes fun of me. You know, I'll be on like a Zoom call for my state association. I'm like, yeah, hey everybody. Don't mind me. I'm just a podcaster. With my professional audio. Meanwhile, my cat's over here and all sorts of stuff. But the biggest thing with podcasting, I think, is the audio, right? I mean, that's really what it's all about. We've all listened to podcasts where the audio is absolute garbage and you get about 30 seconds in.
Oh my gosh, you're killing me.
You get 30 seconds in and you're like, I don't care how interesting this discussion about, whatever it is. I can't handle it. And so I'm totally a sound snob at this time, right? At this point, right? And you guys always have good audio. So
Daryl takes a lot of pride in it, and he will be the first on, if someone's logging in, like, nope, that's not going to work. We're going to have to use something different before we put the on button.
It is actually that if you're trying to start a podcast is super crucial because it's a really hard thing to control with guests.
Yeah.
Yes.
You'll, especially depending on their age, but it doesn't really matter. Like Jimmy and I can have beautiful sound, and then the guest audio will be like
garbage.
It
was like actually last night we were on with a oculoplastic surgeon. So oculoplastic surgeon, and they're like, "You're a optician," No, I'm just kidding.
He didn't say
that. I'm just kidding. He's like, "What do you do? What's your function with the eye?" I'm just kidding. He didn't say that. He was very nice. He was very kind and generous and everything else. He actually works with Roya. So hopefully he doesn't hear this anyway. That would be mean. But he was excellent. He was really, really good. And he was really generous with his time. Great dialogue, down to earth young guy. And his audio was terrible. His audio was terrible.
We had a couple stops.
We had to stop like 5 or 6 times, and we never really fixed the problem. We're like kind of jiggle the jack and do this, stand on your head. It's just, so we.
But it's hard because I especially with a guest that is more seasoned, I want to be respectful too. Sometimes like, oh, we'll make it work. And then Daryl's like, what is this?
Right. Not trying to make this work. Not trying to make this work.
Like, I just wanted to be nice. Like,
I'm always like, hey, do we need to reschedule so you guys can get this?
Daryl will just be like, hey, we're not gonna be able to do this.
I'm not going to waste my time. You know, like you got to get it together. Back in the day when Jen and I first started, we actually bought extra mics and we would ship the mics whoever we were doing the podcast with.
Yeah.
We never got our mics back. So we said,
no, we sent prepaid packaging to these people to give us like the mics.
And send it back.
Like 10 new microphones later, we're like, this cannot.
No.
Yeah. I've heard that more and more. You know, people doing. I've heard a couple other podcasts doing that recently, and yeah, you know, I think you can make it work, right? I mean, you guys make it work, we make it work.
Yeah.
I think the big thing is being sure that you like talk for a few minutes first, hear it before you actually start making something you're going to share. Because once you start getting into conversation, I don't know about you guys, but we really try and not edit. I mean, obviously this is live, so we're not going to edit this, surely, or at least not that early. But when you're doing a podcast, you spend the however long you decide to have your episode, but you'd rather not spend a lot of time editing afterwards. And so as a Pearl, you want it to sound as good and flawless, start to finish, and very little editing in between. And so if you have to do a ton of editing because the sound quality is awful, you are just quadrupling your work. And so especially in the beginning, if you're starting yourself and don't really have anyone helping you, you just don't want to do that. So sound is good. And there are a lot of really basic things. I mean, even the iPhone recording function or a lot of these smartphones have great recording functions.
Yes.
So long as they keep the phone relatively close to their face, you can get a great sound clip. So if they're like, we actually had we had a guest recently who we used our app that we've been using, and the mic wouldn't connect on this person's computer. And we had the worst. We actually almost had to ditch the whole episode. It was really disappointing.
Oh, wow.
And it was actually a sponsored episode. So it was everyone was upset about it because it was great content. Well, it went like live, it was great content.
Yeah.
But it's just like it happens and it's out of your control when it's your guest. Especially if your guest is, it doesn't really matter who it is. If it's bad audio, you're now making them sound bad because no one wants to listen to them talk when it's bad. So it is super important to figure out. And before you start, either reschedule or figure out something else. Get creative. Do an iPhone recording concurrently with what you're doing so you can
do backups a lot.
Do a backup. Yes.
Because I think also the other major issue that I know we've experienced is internet connection.
Oh, yes.
You know, you'll have folks come on and they're still using, what is it, AOL, the dial-up.
Dial-up.
Like, what the hell is going on here, you guys? Come on, let's get it, you know? And
back when they were traveling, a lot of people would want to try to record while they were at a conference.
In their hotel.
In their hotel. And like, ideally, I know that's convenient time. They're not at home. There's no distractions. But the internet speed is so bad. It's always going to come out terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially
so video. People that we couldn't record if they were in the hotel room moving forward. So we don't do any recordings with anyone like that.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Absolutely. You know,
you mentioned sponsored episodes. We had a question from Dr. Johnson come up, and he said, "Are the podcasts producing income?" So obviously, your show was founded by a sponsor originally, but just kind of. Have you found this financially rewarding?
Well, wouldn't you like to know? No, I'm kidding with you. I'm kidding. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think we've had discussions, you know, about, you know, our time isn't free. You know, and we're all, I think, entrepreneurial in spirit. So I think there is a lot of our work that is done, you know, in the spirit of things to come. You know, and opening doors, and you know, that has absolutely happened. You know, so yes, while our podcast is supported, there is, you know, opportunities that have come along the way, and we've been really blessed, I think, to have those opportunities come along the way, whether they're in the form of other doors opening that aren't directly, you know, here, do this for, you know, some financial sponsorship. There's been other things, but there definitely has been some financial benefits as well.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
Something I learned from Dr. Lyerly actually when we were at I Innovate is I think actually that was a kind of a pivot point for us, because she said something to me like, your platform is important, people are listening, and you don't need to do something to help somebody out. So it can be an interesting topic. You said it in much nicer words than that, but essentially,
I agree with that. Yeah.
you're providing a resource, and there's so many things to talk about. You helping someone out doesn't have to be free, essentially. And
right. Don't give it
from
away.
then on, I started realizing you don't need to give it away, right?
Yeah.
If someone comes and says, "Hey, we want to share our story on your podcast," we have a partnership guide that we send out to anyone interested in talking to us, and we go from there, and we can discuss and we can negotiate and whatnot, just like anything else. But a podcast is a platform, and it's a valuable platform because optometry is a small niche. And so once you gain listenership and gain, really what people want to see, especially a sponsor wants to see, is that they're going to be able to invest and actually get an ROI of some sort. And if you can say, "Oh, I've had this podcast going for X number of time, we're consistent, we're reliable, and we have a following," why wouldn't anyone want to come and get their message out with you?
Right.
Yeah, and I think I've heard you guys say this before also, but it rings true. There's lots of people that are on the podium, and lecture and on the circuit, and Roy and I both do lecturing, and we're grateful for those opportunities. But we're in the clinic, 24/7. Roy's in a very busy group practice. I'm a part owner of a very busy group practice, and we're doing it. We're doing it every day. That's our primary function. And it's our passion. We don't talk about things that we don't believe in. I know lots of people say that, but it really is our DNA. It's what we do. We've had folks reach out to us that we've said no to also. That I think is important, as someone who has a voice and has, people that enjoy listening to our banter for whatever reason, that we talk, with some level of ethical, respect, if you will, for what we believe in, for our patients on a daily basis too.
Yeah. I think a lot of people do enter this and they think getting that financial sponsorships, like that's what success means, right? And they kind of have that almost as like an end goal. I'm not saying that we are very thankful to our sponsors. Like, I don't want to make, we're in a very fortunate position to have people who want to help sponsor our show and make this happen, because without them, we definitely couldn't be producing the amount of content that we're doing. Right. But at the same time, like when you enter that role, like that also brings a lot more work with it, as you said, right? Where like, I could spend hours every single day just answering emails and questions. And I've become almost like a secretary instead of an optometrist and a podcaster at this point. So it's, I would say, like, never, if that's your goal before you start the show, your show's probably not going to work out, because what you'll find is if you were to achieve that, it's actually like, it brings with it even more work, even more, time off your plate to be doing it. And to manage all that is quite difficult.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it. I mean, yes, podcasting is lucrative, but don't chase the money. Let the money chase you. That's kind of what Jen and I have done. And, now we're reaping the rewards. There's no doubt about that. But, to kind of circle back to something that I think Jimmy mentioned earlier, opening doors. To me, that's the greatest benefit. Yeah. As a result of being able to podcast, I'm sitting in certain rooms that I would never sit in. I'm sitting on boards. Jimmy, you and I sit on the board, and these are great opportunities to really, use stuff that you've learned from your podcast to have conversation on these board meetings and these calls and things of that nature as well. And just to meet certain people that can help take your career to the next level or mentor you as well is priceless. And a lot of these relationships that we formed over time has helped me out tremendously. And the folks would say the same thing about Jen and I. And the one piece that I really love, that I just think is just the best thing in the world, is that we've been able to help out so many students. And these students, they look up to us. We're like the new leaders, you guys. There's a new wave of KOLs and leaders in eye care, and it's us. We're the new wave. And these students, these millennial docs, they love what we're doing. They learn so much. We're giving them the education in a way that they consume and take it in, so they really can relate to what we're talking about, and it really resonates with them. Yeah. But there's a lot of opportunity. I think the growth, the relationships that you form, and the influence that you can leave in the eye care industry and make it better is the key thing that I take from podcasting more than anything.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to be able to. I mean, there are many days where I feel burned out, and it's just the end after we've done the podcast where I'm like, I love optometry. This has been so rewarding to my love for the profession, the people that we've met and the discussions we've had doing this show. So I mean, that's why I keep coming back, is because I actually really love the people that we're meeting.
Yep. Totally.
Sweet.
I dislike studying for optometry, but I like doing it. And same with, I dislike prepping for podcasts.
Right.
I like doing
all the other stuff, but doing the actual show is great.
Yeah. Like once I do it, I'm happy I did it.
We ask all of our guests a question you may or may not know. It is a question to figure out, who you are, what you believe in. And, it is yourself embodied as a magnificent creature. And so I'd like to know, and you could, I won't pick on either one of you. I will let either one of you go ahead and answer first. So nice of me on your podcast, right? It is your spirit animal. So what is your spirit animal? All of our listeners like to know what your spirit animal is. So go ahead, tell us, what is your spirit animal, please?
Daryl, do you want to go first? Or?
I'll let you go on this one, Jay, because I don't even have an answer, to be honest.
Oh, come on, Dr.
This is the kind of thing that's really going to, Daryl's not going to, but mine is.
We won't get off. We will
not
stay on here.
But a King Charles Cavalier Spaniel.
Oh, they are the nicest dogs.
The sweetest dogs, and they're only thing that makes them happy is just laying on your lap and being cuddled. And that I really like. If I could be reborn, I would just sleep all the time and be petted.
I love it.
My brother has one of those, so yeah, that's good.
Love those.
I don't really have an answer, but if I had to, come up with something, the only thing I can think of as far as animals go is just Simba. So I'll say a lion because I have a son and he's always watching Lion King. So Simba.
Okay, why though? Why?
Why?
Give us the reason.
Strong and he's fierce and he overcame adversity. So there you go.
It's kind of like fun and playful too, right?
There you go. There you go.
I think
and he was that guy. Great. He had all the women looking at him when he was younger. And then he ended up having a beautiful wife, having kids and all that jazz.
Damn straight.
No, I love it. I love it.
That's really actually very fitting.
That's our first.
I'm sure growing up, Daryl, you're like, oh, Simba, that's who I want to grow up to be.
That was our first Disney character spirit animal. So congratulations. That was very good. We appreciate that. Yeah, that was excellent.
But hold on. We got to reverse it. We're going to ask you guys the same question.
Oh, no.
Same
question. All right, go ahead, Roya.
Ladies first, of course.
Okay, we've been adapting a lot. I've been trying to think of new ones, but I think more recently I said one. I think I still agree with it. I feel like I'm a penguin because they're like kind of proper on the outside, but like you see them like dancing and stuff in the background. They have their little family pod. They can't really fly, but they like look like they should. So like I feel like I can like play off that I should be able to do something, but I can't usually.
I like that.
So my answer has always been a barn cat. And I don't know. It's just what I came up with, a barn cat. Like, because some barn cats are very nice and very supportive, and they take care of the business, and they're not afraid to kind of get into a little something every now and again, but they're very loyal and they guard the barn and they take care of stuff. So I always said barn cat for some reason. I kind of thought it was funny, but I was more recently I was thinking, what would I like to be? And an animal that I really respect and I think is just magnificent is a moose. I think a moose is just a very magnificent animal.
But that sound that they make is...
Look at this. Doesn't it, can you see it? A moose. They're beautiful. They're very beautiful creatures. And so I'm going with moose. I'm evolving from barn cat to moose.
Hey, man, you go places.
They are really feisty and mean, too. They can be very aggressive when messed with. So
I'm really not a mean, aggressive person. But yeah, that's what I'm going with for now. So thanks for asking.
I had one more topic I want to cover because this came up actually recently for me. But we mentioned at the top of the show that that first negative Google review.
Yes.
We were like, oh my gosh. So let's talk about negative feedback because when you put yourself out there, you're going to get critical feedback that just comes with it. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do some things wrong. People are going to let you know about it. So can you share any experiences or how you deal with it?
I would love to share a couple. Roya, I'll let you go first, and then if you don't share the ones that I want to share, I'll share them.
Okay, I'll say the first one because I think it's important. That was like a turning point, a pivot point for I thought it was really vulnerable.
It was like 2 weeks in, right? 2-3 weeks.
Super early in.
Yeah.
It was when it said something like
Dr.
Jimmy
Glover said this one. I know it.
I reverse tracked it. It wasn't him.
I'm just kidding. It wasn't you.
No, it said something along the lines of like rambling, stuttering mess. That was not that dramatic, but it was something about like
it was really
ramble. It was really painful to listen to. Maybe in the future they'll get things together and it could have more potential or something like that.
That sounded
got the same one.
I think we got the exact same review.
You got the same one.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm dead serious.
We got to show you this. It was
okay. We'll match it. We'll line up.
There's just someone going out there posting that same comment on all optometry podcasts.
What's the only optometry podcast that doesn't have that review?
Right?
we'll do a little backwards searching here.
Yeah.
We'll get back to everyone on that one. But yeah, that one it did hurt a lot, but that was when I started really figuring out like we need to have a plan. No one's just coming to here like social hour. Let's just get like their like word vomit of what their thoughts are on this. Let's have a little more, plan on what we're going to talk about. And look, I think there's this thing about podcasts where it is an interview, but it's not just an interview. This is more than that. It's people are coming because they want to listen to conversation, kind of.
Right.
It's like a morning show. They don't want to hear just like a scripted conversation. So there's this line that you have to cross between scripting and being prepared without being too prepared, and also knowing when to cut a guest off and how to. That sounds good. So that's when I started like really getting more formulated and thinking about that. So while it hurt, that was one of the first ones that was rough.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah. Thanks for the comment there, Kate, of Rachel and Kate fame. I love that. That's fantastic. I love that podcast. And so I'm excited to hear you listening in. So I will share one that I probably brought on ourselves, right, Roya? I brought this one on ourselves.
Maybe, yeah. Say? I think okay. I know, but you go ahead.
So there's a popular ophthalmology podcast that did a I'm going to say it.
Dang.
There's a popular ophthalmology podcast that I will not mention that I was listening to because I listen to all of these podcasts, in eye care, and I find them interesting. I learn a lot. And so I was listening to this, and it was during COVID times, right? And not that we're not in COVID times now, but it was, April, May of last year. And they were doing sort of like a meeting of the minds, the American Academy of Ophthalmology, AOA, and then the guests on this podcast. And they were kind of going around the room and talking about, they had this great intro about how, we're going to bring people together and talk about how we could, figure out where we could help one another and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, wow, this is going to be so cool. An opportunity for ophthalmology and optometry to work together. That's what I was thinking. And then, the conversation really kind of veered off into, billing for cataracts and how, they were getting reimbursement cuts and not to say that was not a bad thing, but it just kind of missed the mark, in my opinion. And I said that on the podcast, and I said that on our podcast, and never did I say anything negative or derogatory about, this podcast, because I'll tell you what, I might be their biggest fan. I listen to it all the time. And I said I really love this podcast. I enjoy it. I just said, I think you guys missed the mark on this one. And we got I got a personal text from the person, and I was like, oh, yo, cool. You guys want to do a podcast together? And he's like, no, I just want to talk. And so we got like called into the president's or the principal's office by these guys. And, basically they said, you should apologize to us and don't ever listen to our podcast again. So that's what happened. And, I think what we took from that is this, that, could maybe we could have said things a little bit differently or done things a little bit differently. But when you put yourself out there, you are at risk for judgment, positive and negative. And you really have to think about how, and there's been others, since then that folks maybe did not like what I said or how it was said, or, so I think you just have to think, just like you said, Dr. Glover, we're going to be on the internet, right? It's out there forever. And, you have to think about the consequences of that and how it affects people and how, they may interact with that, and for better or for worse. So, if somebody reaches out to us and says, hey, I think you missed the mark on this one, we're happy to have a conversation about it and communicate about it. And I won't have hurt feelings about it. I promise, I swear. But I think it's interesting, how people do interpret things.
That's a hard thing too, about when it's not scripted. Like we are human and we do miss the mark sometimes, like sometimes even like in conversation, or you're trying to like lighten your guest's mood and you might say a joke that gets sort of interpreted the wrong way, or, different things have come up in the past, and like the tone of voice or the way we'll speak to a guest, someone will say, hey, I think that was a little insensitive. And maybe it was, like in the moment, if I listen, I'm like, oh yeah, that was kind of insensitive. But it's also like, we don't go edit this stuff. We don't script it. You do your best. So yeah, you're going to get called out sometimes, and it is humbling, but sometimes you do need that to remind yourself, like, ouch, like maybe I need to think about that a little more on how I say things, or how I describe things, or whatever.
Well, I think one of the things we try to do, and I know we all try to do things, and, for better or for worse, whether, you're being true to yourself or you're trying to, have a wow, a kind of like a surprise factor. I think for us, it's really me being me and Roya being Roya. And we try to bring, that real conversation that we would normally have at the lobby at a conference to the podcast. And sometimes that's not always information or discussion that people are part of. And, maybe that's sometimes, I don't want to say hard to hear, but so anyway, that's been our experience so far. What about you guys? Have you guys had any negative comments or feedback? I can't imagine that. Tell me who they are.
Well, so we had a snafu, not quite a year ago, I don't think. We had a very good, like, informed, knowledgeable guest on the show talking about a topic where he's very informed and very knowledgeable. We don't usually, when there's someone who's like considered an expert in their field, I don't do a lot of digging into their backstory to try to find out, is there any like personal issues or something like that? Like, just for value, this is a respected person in our profession from, everything that I can tell. And when I read their articles, I think they're really good. And the podcast was really good and very informative, but we got a lot of feedback afterwards that this person, we should be more mindful about who we're bringing on the show and their histories and what they represent in the field. And, we were embarrassed afterwards. We did put out an apology because that's something that we hadn't thought to consider to investigate. And it took a lot of brainstorming behind the scenes to figure out, how do we apologize for this? And with, this person isn't somebody that we want to offend, but we also don't want to offend our listeners, that we didn't take that into consideration. And it was a challenging, like, I was sweating bullets on that night.
It's, for me, I forgot all about that one, Jen, to be honest.
I didn't record this podcast.
She has sweaty palms just talking about it.
Bring it back up.
Honestly, for me, I'm just at that point in life, whether it's podcasts, whether it's, at the grocery store, wherever I'm at, I have good intention. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. I can't please everyone, but I know my heart is genuine, and I know what I'm trying to do is trying to create happiness to everyone that I come in contact with. Some people are going to love me. Some people are going to be a hater. So you decide which one you want, and let's keep it moving, because you can't put too much thought into that stuff. That's just going to slow you down. And at the end of the day, we're creating value for our industry, and not everyone's going to love it, but majority of the people will. So, I just keep it moving, man. It's like, I'm not going to let these people hold me down. It's kind of like in patient care, right? You're in that room with that patient for maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes. They may be a complete a-hole, but you know what? That's not my wife, so I don't care. I'm going to do what I got to do and keep it moving to the next one. So I kind of take the same approach when it comes to podcasting, or if someone says something that's, some crazy mess. But for the most part, I don't think we really have a lot of haters. We just have that one episode there, and then also I think there might have been a couple podcast review comments. But outside of that, I mean, we've been rocking and rolling, and if they do come, bring them on. I could care less, you guys. That just motivates me to do even more. So bring it on.
I will say this, and it wasn't specifically like our show, but I have from a friend gotten feedback recently. She's in about 10 years older than us, maybe a little bit more, but she's kind of given feedback where she's like, don't you think that social media space, the podcast space, like the stuff that all of you guys are doing, it's kind of siloing our profession, where the young people feel like they can only talk to young people, and they don't really feel like older generation is of value to them, and the older generation just stays with the older generation, and y'all aren't bringing everybody together. And I was like, oh, like I had never looked at what I was doing and thought that way. But is that something that you guys have felt a siloing maybe happening within optometry?
If anything, what I think about is I go to conferences and I see the same names every time. Mm-hmm. I see the same people every time, and I go to the lecture and I learn the same thing, right? And I'm not trying to discredit. Conferences do a great job. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. But I think what our platform does is bring the next generation of leaders to the forefront, so get their voice out, right? Like that's what Jimmy and I try and do for our guests, at least, is like all the like normal KOLs, you hear them every day, you see them in your inbox with every single different conference, every different company talking about the next big thing because they work for every company. And don't get me wrong, props to them, right? But there are so many people that are killing it, that are doing things here and there, that's what you need to, that's the baby step you need to take to get to that KOL level, right? You need those people that you're like, oh dang, you're like 3 years out of school and you're killing it, or oh dang, you're 8 years out of school and that you've done that much, or whatever it is. I don't think you need to be like an active arguer on like Odie's on Facebook.
We can say
like, right. Like, I think that there is a productive way to do it. And I also think both you and our podcast does a pretty good job spanning the generation of optometry and having guests.
I think so too.
And I'm sure you guys do the same thing, but like, if someone wants to hear from someone, ask for them to be heard from, right? Like if you want to hear from a doc, if one person nominates you, there's no chance you're going to say no to a podcast. But like if we it's content creation's hard. If you want to hear from someone, ask to hear from them, ask to hear about them, or ask us to interview them, because that's the kind of content we want to make without any sort of incentive necessarily. If we have a listener say, hey, can you get person X on your show? We'd be like, yeah, sure, that'd be fun. Mm-hmm. That's going to be like more like grassroots kind of episode that's fun to do too.
Right.
Yeah.
We're all about it. I mean, we've had people in their late 90s on the show. Yeah. And we've had optometry students on the show. So I don't really see what any of our platforms is doing is ageist. But, a diversity of perspectives. Like we're not only saying if you're a senior in the field, you get to have an opinion.
Totally. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I know for me, I have a segment, Hanging with Your Favorite Optometrist. I try to get everything underneath the sun. I try to go to, some of the OGs and get some wisdom and some knowledge from them. But I also purposely bring on more diversity, whether it's women, whether it's folks of color, just to give them a platform to tell their story and showcase them and allow them to be seen and potentially get some of these KOLs, some of these board positions and things like that. Like I said, we're the next stars, you guys, and we have to understand that and realize that, and we have to utilize our platform to put everyone else on, because, there are a few KOLs out there that are doing amazing things, but, there's other folks out there that can do it just as great or even better. And I want to be the one that's going to help bring them up and make that change and make that impact and make that wave in eye care. And I love what you guys are doing. I know you're doing the same. And it's just a lot of fun, man. It's just a time. It's a change, So, we just got to keep doing what we're doing right now, you guys.
Yeah.
But clearly we could chat forever, but I want to get y'all to have a chance to, promote any big events or what's coming next in 2021 for Try Not to Blink.
One of the things I'm most excited about, we did our first event last year, or episode, but we're starting to get some CE episodes. So listen to the episode, you get an hour of CE, you take a quiz. You're listening to it anyway. It has nothing to do with what our normal, or no disruption to our normal flow, and maybe sounds just like a little bit more scientific of an episode. But that's something I've been super passionate about trying to get into it. Not for every episode. Don't get me wrong. I still like our fun, or you know how many rules you have to follow when you're
and it's
doing
just too many. It's too much damn work. Let's be honest.
Too much work, yeah,
and money. So
it's nice.
We did a dry eye episode. It's available on our website. Check it out, and it's free. And then we're gonna have a glaucoma CE coming up very shortly. We have a great ophthalmologist with us talking a little bit about some advanced glaucoma treatments. That should be a lot of fun. So that's the next big thing for us. I know that I'll be at Optometry's meeting in Denver, so I'm looking forward to that. That should be that big news, right? Everybody, big news. Are you guys going to be at a meeting anytime coming up? Is that in your planning at all?
Honestly, so fully vaccinated, I would love to go. The only X factor is I still have a 2-year-old. It's just really hard to travel right now for unrelated COVID reasons even. But hopefully we're going to figure this out real soon.
Soon, yeah. And I'm in your boat too. My wife has come in here and yelled at me at least 3 times since we started this, because we're due in 3 weeks with our 3rd child. And I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old too. So yeah, I'm with both of you guys on the crazy, kid plane. But lots of discussion about SECO, which is it now? It's coming up real soon.
Yeah, end of the month. I'll be there.
Okay, very good. Excellent.
Yeah, it's funny, you're asking about conferences. I posted a poll on LinkedIn, and so far I've had about 74 people vote. And I said, what conference are you attending? Vision Expo, SECO, the AOA Academy, or AOA Optometry's meeting. And for Vision Expo, we have 35% of people voted for that, 14% for SECO. For Academy, 34%, and for Optometry's meeting, 18%. So right now, it looks like everyone is heading to Vision Expo and Academy.
Interesting.
Yeah. Some interesting stats and data there. And I have this going for a week, so this is only day 2. So hopefully we'll get more information. But a lot of people have looked at it, so we'll see. But I'm going to go to SECO. I'm going to see how that is. And from there, I'll figure out, which other conferences I'll go to. A lot of these conferences now, they're all in the summer, and that's too close for me.
Yeah.
So if anything, I may look at SECO, Transitions Academy, and then maybe Vision Expo West is what I'm probably going to do, just to kind of space out things. But we'll see. I love conferences, but I also, I got to put food on the table. I can't just go to conferences just to go, every single one that's there in the summertime. So we'll see how that works.
Yeah. Totally. What about for you all?
Yeah, what's up? What's coming up? What are we looking forward to?
Well, this year, I know we're really looking to expand our network. We have a lot of opportunity at our fingertips. We have a lot of partners that we've partnered with this year that we haven't really released out there. And we're just going to make sure that our team members shine more. We have lunch date with Rachel and Kate. We're going to throw some opportunities their way. I know they're watching now. They're like, what? We got more work coming. Let's do it. Dr. Harbir Cyan with the 2020 podcast. He's killing the game. So he's actually bringing us opportunities. He's actually head of our Canadian sector out with Defocus Media. So yeah, right.
International. You're international.
Hey, we're trying to be like you guys,
Love it.
And we also are going to put some work out there for our new podcast. We have 2 new podcasts, the 4 Eyes Optometry podcast and the 4-Eyed Professor with Dr. Chris Levens. And he's dropping a podcast tomorrow, so make sure you guys tune in for that.
That's
one.
Great. He's excellent. He's really, really good. Yeah, he's made for podcasting.
Absolutely. So really for us, Jen and I, we're now at our career in podcasting where we've built this network, and we really just want to put a lot of opportunity in the hands of our colleagues. because they're putting out some amazing product. I mean, they are killing the game. So we just want to be able to support them and make sure that we give them a platform to leverage their talent. So that's pretty much it. I mean, does that sum it up, Jen?
Yeah. Our whole goal with this was Defocus Media is not Jen and Daryl. This is a collaboration of optometrists where, if we've got a platform you can use and we can help make something happen for you, like you're the star. And I am happy to distribute the wealth. Like I can't possibly take on all of this work. So we're so happy to have other people that we can give opportunities to.
Awesome.
Love that.
Yeah. Well, this has been great, you guys. I need to get my butt upstairs because my wife, I'm pretty sure, is like, so you're not going to watch any of Married at so got to go check that out. But we got to do this again. I mean, maybe we can make this a quarterly thing, annual thing.
Totally in.
At some point in time, maybe we should collaborate more. There's a lot of opportunities we have. You guys have opportunities. Let's figure something out. We can do this off camera at some point in time, but I think we had great energy this evening. I really enjoyed this quite a bit.
Thanks, Dr. Glover. It means a lot. We are big fans, Dr. Lyerly. We really appreciate you and Dr. Glover, everything you guys have put together. We really are fans, and we appreciate the opportunity to be here with you tonight. So thank you so much.
Oh man, thank you for those kind words, man. I'm
very much
on that one, man. That was beautiful, man.
Wonderful day in patient care, and thanks for spending an hour with us. As always, anybody out there watching, we loved all your comments and your feedback during this live episode, and